Hey, what's up, everybody? The VC here, Villain Club. It's about anything and everything from life, lifestyle, entertainment, do it all. Alright, and it's just sharing with you anything and everything. And the biggest thing right now is just obviously, we're going to get straight to it. We're going to cut straight to the chase, the wildfires, alright? So, if you haven't been knowing what's been going on, let's take a look at what's all this wildfire activity that's been going on right now in Southern California.
Great content needs a great audience, like Santa Claus needs cookies.
Take a look at what's happening here.
No cookies!
We start tonight with that breaking news in Southern California.
We are not out of danger. The National Weather Service has
close.
predicted that the winds are going to pick up and get worse.
Fear and concern is growing tonight as flames light up the Los Angeles hillsides. Firefighters are scrambling to contain several major fires tonight. Just into our newsroom, we are learning of another fire erupting, this time in Sylmar in the San Fernando Valley. Extremely strong winds are fanning the dangerous and potentially deadly flames that have already forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Laura Painter.
And I'm Chris Thomas. We're tracking the latest on the firefight tonight. I want you to take a look. I want to show you the location of the two biggest fires. They're both in L.A. County. The Palisades fire west of L.A. in the Pacific Palisades, and the new Eaton fire is northeast of the city near Pasadena.
Tonight,
This is crazy because, LA itself, right? So this is along the coast, Malibu, Venice Beach, all that area there, Santa Monica. And then, you have the Eden fire that erupted somehow out here. But they were saying Santa Ana winds, which is very common in down in this area, was blowing as high as 100 miles per hour. So imagine 100-mile-per-hour winds, Santa Ana, just blowing and spreading the fire even more here. It's crazy.
Sacramento Metro and city firefighters are heading to Southern California to help hundreds of firefighters already on the front lines. They gathered their belongings to head south.
You know what's crazy is the other day when I was driving home, this is like late night the other day on the freeway. I'm in Northern California. I saw rows of fire trucks driving on the freeway down, and they're going southbound on the freeway because I have to drive southbound at night. And they were driving southbound, and on the freeway that I'm on, that's heading straight down to Southern California.
Just hours ago.
This might seem rare, but this is something that we've been experiencing more and more lately. And as these fire seasons keep going on, they just keep getting extended to pretty much almost year-round at this point.
What you're seeing tonight is really the local, region, and state coming together and saying, you know what, there's a major disaster happening in Southern California. We need your help.
And that's the thing I'm going to talk about too is the problem is the state itself, right? And we're going to go into that in a minute. We're going to just kind of look at this fire stuff, footage, and we'll and that way you kind of just get a grasp of what's happening. And then we're going to dig deep into the poor leadership of LA and how it really extends to the poor leadership in California for this happening.
We're told local crews could spend up to 14 days in Los Angeles, making sure the flames are put out. And first, here's a look at where the Palisades fire is burning. It's just northwest of Santa Monica.
Evacuations have been ordered past
All that
Highway
green, look at
27,
that.
known as Topanga Canyon, down to Highway 1 or the Pacific Coast Highway, and into parts of Santa Monica. Here's what Governor Gavin Newsom had to say today.
He has nothing to say,
Saw
man. He's
firsthand
garbage.
the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed, of how serious this moment is and how
It's just poor
important
leadership.
it is you listen to these evacuation orders.
And take a look. This is video of the flames burning at the
Oh,
Getty
wow, the
Villa
Getty
Museum tonight.
Damn.
The president and CEO of the museum says some trees and vegetation burned, but good news is the galleries are protected.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
take a look at the
Shit,
latest
they got
numbers
to
from
there.
CAL FIRE. The Palisades fire is now nearly 3,000 acres large, with evacuation orders impacting at least 30,000 people. There are no estimates on how many homes are destroyed or how many.
Look at this, Malibu to Calabasas, Calabasas, whatever. This is all like rich, upper income areas here. Calabasas, obviously the Kardashians are out there. Interesting.
Remain threatened.
But just as firefighters were working to contain a second fire burning near Pasadena, the growing Palisades fire is leaving a trail of destruction.
And this new video, nighttime video, just into our newsroom shows the intense flames and powerful winds fire crews are battling tonight. Pops, explosions, and flames sweeping through a Los Angeles hillside, dotted with celebrity homes as winds picked up Tuesday night. This is new video of the Palisades fire, showing thick smoke and powerful wind fueling massive flames you see here on the side of a highway.
Crazy.
Homes are destroyed and tens of thousands of people remain under evacuation orders. Clogged roads force some to abandon their cars and run for their lives.
The smoke just got really bad, so I just started packing up all of our stuff and we got in the car to go.
It looks like Armageddon.
And then all the cars were abandoned, so I had nowhere to go, so I just had to get out of my car and start walking. The smoke is so bad. I have no idea where we're going.
This is video of abandoned cars moved out of the way by a bulldozer to make a path for emergency vehicles. Fire trucks racing to the scene, aircraft attacking the fire from above.
We threw everything we had at it really quick. We knew that if we didn't get it in 20 minutes, it would go to hundreds of acres.
And I've seen tons of fires. This is nothing. I'm scared for my life. It's terrifying.
Actor James Woods posting this video of flames near his home.
We've got a lot of planes going over.
Firefighters in an all-out battle to save this shopping center, pulling hoses right through businesses, even using buckets at one point to stop the spread. The fire started around 10:30 Tuesday morning, erupting in the Pacific Palisades foothills west of Los Angeles, after what the National Weather Service calls the strongest windstorm to hit Southern California in more than a decade. Officials say the exact cause of the fire is not yet known. So let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods now, tracking the latest on the wind conditions tonight.
Right, and so you can take a look at some of the flames that are still burning for tonight at the Palisades fire. These particular cameras have been quite active with embers kind of flying around here as we look out towards these live pictures provided by UC San Diego and Alert California. This is the Eaton fire. This is just looking off in the distance, a big plume of smoke there. And then the Hearst fire, that one was the Sylmar fire just a little bit ago, and then they renamed that to the Hearst fire. But there's several fires burning throughout the region. Some of those embers just kind of flying around with our red flag warning in effect deep through tomorrow with a particularly dangerous situation. We've been seeing peak wind gusts at 50 to almost 80 miles per hour. And this will continue overnight into early Wednesday with extremely critical fire weather. Some of the air quality issues that are brewing right now, especially as night falls, this smoke will just settle in. Although we still have those strong offshore winds, we're still dealing with really poor air quality. Locally, we still have our wind advisory in effect until 7 in the morning, but winds are at a much lower clip here, only at about 30 to 35 mile per hour peak gusts in the valley and towards the coastal region. As far as those sustained winds out of the northwest at about 50.
All right, let me see here. Let's see what the newest update is. Look at this Sunset Fire. Let's see what's going on here.
Your barber Gus works great, but he doesn't work like Wealthfront. Wealthfront keeps your investment.
Relentless wildfires in Southern California causing widespread destruction, as you know. When the sun came up, we could finally see the scope of the devastation. The Palisades fire alone already destroying more than 1,000 structures, making it the most destructive fire in LA history. There are now 6 fires burning in the region.
Just the beginning. A new fire erupted overnight in Hollywood Hills.
Let me see here. So Palisades fire, Eaton fire, Hearst fire. All right, those were the first set of fires, and it looks like Lydia fire just started there. Sunswept fire maybe just started. I think Sunset has been there. Yeah, man, look at that, more fires. This is crazy. And there's so much green and brush in all these areas here. This is massive.
Near the popular Runyon Canyon, forcing more people to evacuate. Crews attacked it from the air and the ground to protect the densely populated area.
And take a look at these before and after images from above East Altadena. Just total devastation.
Damn.
The historic winds fueling the flames overnight, and now they are expected to pick back up.
And Michael Ginger is standing by with much more on those dangerous winds. We have team coverage on the fires, and our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman starts us off from Pacific Palisades. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Robin. You mentioned this is the most destructive wildfire in LA history, and we've been here for this is our third day here, and everywhere we go we see new images of this hellscape. And I just want to give you a sense of where we are. Sunset Boulevard, the heart of downtown, is that way. These are homes here. On the other side over there was a 3-story condo building. Come with me. Want to show you another big condo building, also 3 stories. Everything here destroyed, and you may be able to see the spot fires inside there. And as firefighters have been racing across this town trying to put those out overnight, that new fire there, just in those Hollywood Hills, just a few blocks from the famous Hollywood Boulevard, exploding in size.
This morning, already strapped firefighters forced to jump to yet another fire in the heart of Los Angeles.
I've never seen Los Angeles like this in my life.
The Sunset Fire fueled by this week's historic wind event in Los Angeles, igniting in the hills just north of Hollywood Boulevard. Firefighters blasting water into this apartment,
I just want to know what, this. I'm just looking at the status of everything, and then, like I said, we're going to get to the failed leadership of the city and the state and why this has been happening. So we'll get to that.
Fleet of helicopters swirling over the fire,
trying to look at the impact of all this.
Residents facing gridlock as they try to evacuate down the narrow streets of the Hollywood Hills. Firefighters getting right up to the flames, but only a trickle of water coming from that hose. Drone footage capturing this fire spreading through the hills.
Now, together, these fires are stretching the capacity of emergency services to their maximum limits.
Our station, KABC, capturing the inferno quadrupling in size in just minutes.
We are in the heart of Hollywood, guys. This thing is spotting and growing by the second. I can't emphasize it enough. There is no way to dramatize this.
And another fire springing up in nearby Studio City.
There goes the front of the facade, the front of the house, a complete collapse now.
Crews arriving on scene quickly to battle that blaze, managing to knock it down. This as the Palisades fire grows to over 17,000 acres, becoming the most destructive wildfire in LA history. The fire still consuming homes this morning. At least 1,000 structures burned in the Palisades and in Malibu, the number expected to grow significantly.
We've been watching firefighters work on this house for hours now. It looks like they're going to lose this battle. And I want you to see something. Normally, you would not have been able to see the Pacific Ocean from here. There would be a line of very impressive-looking seaside homes. They're now all
in flames and now gone. Roughly 30 miles to the east, the deadly 10,000-acre Eaton fire killing at least 5 people. Entire densely packed neighborhoods erupting in flames. You can see each fire burning building to building in these satellite images. Residents there making split decisions.
I have friends that live north of LA, so I don't know if it's going to reach that far. So it's like, man. And also I have a friend that lives in Pasadena, which is kind of in the middle of this. So I'm not quite sure how he's doing because of all the evacuation stuff that's happening right now. And so this is crazy, though.
About whether to leave everything behind or attempt to save what they can.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
Lynn Guzman trying to save her 90-year-old parents' home after they lost fire insurance.
These insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance.
And
hey, guess what? Like I said, we're going to talk about all that.
In Los Angeles, those fire hydrants running dry just when they were needed most.
There have been a lot of complaints about inadequate water, taps running dry, hydrants running dry.
Jeez,
so we do know that our DWP, they did anticipate that there was going to be some supply issues. They did refill some of those water tanks. And it's with this amount of fire, though, this amount of fire activity and how erratic and widespread this was, it was unpredicted that we would have these kind of problems.
AccuWeather estimating upwards of $57 billion in damage. This is ABC News learning the fire department's budget was slashed $17.5 million for this year.
This is an absolutely unprecedented event. Any fire department, even our size, is stressed thin, which is why we call in our mutual aid partners our additional resource.
Yeah, and again, it's all part of the failed leadership. We'll cover all that. All right, I just want to just kind of give you guys the animosity of this whole thing here. All right, it's crazy, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And you know, when you look at the magnitude of all this, all right, the first question was before it started happening. The first question was asked, where the fudge was Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, right? Because with Karen Bass, it says right here, she left for Africa as wind and fire warnings increased. All right, so that was the thing, as it was happening and warnings were increased. You know, she finally, or she left Africa, you know, to Ghana or whatever, which is pretty funny. Look at this. As flames tore through Pacific holiday, she was on a diplomatic mission in Africa, communicating with agencies from afar. Yeah, whatever, right? And it's just pretty funny. And you know, after a lot of just slamming, as it says here, right? She finally came back, and it's like, you know, you shouldn't have left. You know, it's like what do you do? Like, what? Why would anybody, especially from a city, be going to Africa for right now? You know, and it's just, you know, you got shit to do, right? You got a job to do. And so, let's see, she faced mounting criticism Wednesday for handling deadly wildfires that continue to rage across the region, taking blame from influential city figures as she traveled back from the trip to Africa. Let's see, they slammed her, claiming the mayor slashed the fire department's budget. So this is going to be all part of the poor leadership, right? Because one, she's on this sort of trip to Africa for, you know, an ambassador mission, whatever. It's like, who gives a shit? Right, you got a big ass city to run. Right, LA is not some small city; it's a large metropolitan city. You were given warnings about the possibility of what may be happening here, right? But all right, oh yeah, the city will be fine. I'll be back. And next thing you know, fires kicked up, and she was gone. She was out, but supposedly in communication with people, you know, to make sure, keeping her, you know, informed on what's happening. But a lot of criticism was happening because it's like, how about not staying informed and just fly back right away? Take a red eye, fly back. So that was part of the poor judgment of her so-called leadership, right? Then you come to find out that for this year, she slashed the city budget for, I mean, you know, for the fire department. And, you know, that's just part of the whole woke DEI sort of thing that she is, right? And of course, what do you do when you're having money problems, right? Of overspending, because she's a Democrat, she's woke, she's GEI or DEI. What do you do, right? You cut from police, you cut from fire because, oh, you know, it's too much money spent on budgeted for those people. You know, when it could be spent on this, all right? You know, this and that and this. When they're having money problems of overspending on bullshit like illegals and homeless, right? Which, by the way, this budget was cut for homeless. All right, so, you know, as you read here, fire department budget cut despite risk of high-risk wildfires in the region, raised questions about reports that fire hydrants had run dry. So, geez, you heard that firefighter talked about why, you know, or not why, but how it was running dry, right? Fires in LA are sadly no surprise, yet the mayor cut the LA Fire Department's budget by $23 million and reports of empty fire hydrants, right? So why? Why is that? The city budget documents show the department's more than $800 million budget decreased by $17 million compared to the previous budget cycle. Why? You know, if you have fire risk as it is in LA, right? Why? You know what I'm saying? And so, let's see here. She spent the morning making local TV appearances. Caruso is another Democrat, doesn't matter, it was a moderate, I guess, so more towards the middle, right, versus Karen Bass, who's DEI to the left, progressive, because she's all about defunding police and all this bullshit. The competitor here, Caruso, made local TV appearances blasting Bass for traveling to Ghana, despite reports as early as last week about the windstorm. I mean, we're talking about 100-mile-per-hour windstorm, kicking in, which is crazy just thinking about it. But Santa Ana winds are very common. I don't know if it's year-round, but it's a very common wind that swirls around in the LA area. And there are days it could get super windy out there. Inexplicable decision not to come back earlier. Yeah, it's like, should have just taken the red-eye flight back. If, say, like, you just made a decision to leave, stuff broke out, all right, you know what, I'm going to fly back, take the next flight back. All right, so, let's see, Caruso, who owns a shopping complex in the Pacific Palisades that partially burned, compared to LA to a third world country with failing infrastructure. Let's see. Water tanks in the Pacific Palisades weren't fully filled ahead of the fire. Still, they're running dry. All right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All right, so that's what happened there, right? So, where was Karen Bass, the mayor? She was out and about, being in another country. Celebrating when should have been back way earlier. And it even says here, could have canceled the trip. That's what it was saying here. It could have canceled. And so, again, poor judgment, poor leadership, cutting the budget. All right, it's all part of the DEI, defunding, what you really need, right? You need law enforcement, you need fire department, but yet you want to defund that shit. And like I said, it was cut to fund homeless program, which has been a failing program in LA for the longest time. Because you go down to Skid Row and other places, Fashion District, Skid Row, I mean, they all border each other anyways, but still, it's just homeless are just everywhere in LA. And part of it is they're unsheltered, but part of the problem is the addiction problem that none of these Democrats will ever address, is that they have addiction problems. But that's aside from that, right? So you see here, she cut the fire budget here, prioritizing the funds for homeless population. That largely went unspent. Imagine that, right? A lot of these things that they supposedly fund for the homeless and all that, like Gavin Newsom's unaccountability with $24 billion toward the homeless, and no one accounted for it, but yet no one's being investigated, no one's in trouble, and it was just funny. So yeah, that was the question. Where is Karen Bass, right? Until she flew back finally overnight, and people were pissed, right? And every right to be pissed, right? Because of what's happening, and then her response to it, right? And so it's just funny how that is with her. That priorities are out of whack. Now, with her in disarray as it is, and look at this, silent on arrival. All right. Questions for her absence as she refuses to answer questions. All right, let's take a look at New York Post here, because they've been very moderate, if anything, like right in the middle of things. All right. So she became stone-faced when confronted by a reporter as she returned to America to find her city burning. Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget? They went straight at her. Have you got nothing to say to the citizens? Right? And so, standing a few feet away from them on the plane's ramp as she awaited clearance to leave, stared blankly at the reporters that questioned her, refusing to provide an answer or acknowledge his presence. As she walked up the ramp into the airport, she continued to ignore the reporter as she followed and asked for a comment. No apology for them. Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Mayor, do you have anything to say? Wow, this is Crazy. So you got Eaton, Sunset, Palisades. So this is just the early fires. As oh shit. Damn. So here's some pictures here. Baston walked out of the terminal, left the reporter behind without answering. She was under fire for being in Africa to attend an inauguration of Ghana's president as wildfires devoured LA on Tuesday. Alright. Santa Ana winds blowing. Let's see. And she's on a taxpayer-funded trip. All right, so we have that. All right. I wonder if there's an updated map of this whole thing here. I'm gonna see if there's an updated map. Let's see. Is the Hollywood sign safe? I'm curious about that too. I saw an image of it where there's fires burning around it, but it was just what do you call that? Generated footage. But I'm curious if that sign is safe or not. Let's see. So is the Hollywood sign danger by the wildfires? They weren't. It was not in any immediate danger from wildfires as of Thursday morning. That's today. The Hollywood sign was not in an evacuation or evacuation warning area. Okay, so it's not even reaching that far. That's at Griffith Park. Sunset Fire in Hollywood Hills is located more southeast. Okay. Doesn't mean it won't get there. I mean, it's just the way the fire is spreading. It makes you curious. Let's see. Current wildfire live map. Yeah, let's go see what it's looking like right now. I'm kind of curious to see. Let me see the map. Alright, let me blow this back. Stop. That doesn't do nothing. I move this and the whole spot moves. Alright, that doesn't do nothing for me. Let me see here. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I have a friend that lives in Pasadena, and I have friends that live further up in this area, Santa Clarita area here. So it looks like those is for power outages though. Alright. Yeah, show all the fires. I want to see all the fires. There we go. Ooh, so you got the Hearst fire because he lives in Santa Clarita. The Hearst fire is kind of close to that area. Got the Lydia fire. Yeah, I'm gonna have to call him later and see. I'm not sure where my other friends at is in Pasadena because they evacuated Pasadena. Wow, this is crazy. Right in the middle of the sunset right here too. And you look at all that green. So failed leadership. All right, now we got to take a step back and look at failed leadership of California Newsom because, with this whole Green New Deal, right? Green New Deal. You have the environmentalist. You have all this bullshit, right? Bureaucracy, PG&E in cahoots with all that, right? You put them all together. What do, right? So what happens is, you pay PG&E outrageous bills every month, right? And they're the ones that are supposed to kind of keep the fuel, at bay, meaning that you cut away brush, you cut away excess, you have, that along with fire agencies, to be covering for all that stuff, to make sure that you get rid of any sort of potential fuel overgrowth, old growth, all that stuff. You're supposed to trim away, cut all that stuff back, because you're trying to prevent any fuel from being sparked. That's what it is. It's common to do that. But because you have stupid ass Newsom and the bureaucracy, the environmentalists, the Green New Deal, oh, you gotta, preserve the environment, all this, stuff, pollution, blah, 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 right? So, they're in cahoots with each other that, you can't cut nothing because it's just, it's so bad for the environment, it's just pollution and blah, blah, blah. And so what happens when you let it stay? Well, the growth, the overgrowth, all that brush just grows, right? And all it is just, being that potential fuel that needs a spark. And next thing you know, you're up in flames, all right? There's no way you'll be able to find out ever, based on as LA's burning down, how this fire, there's no way you're going to be able to find out how this fire is sparked except by just the natural environment is what causes spark. You got the wind swirling, things happen, man, it could just be the sun shining out on a bright object that happens to be just enough of that light that just happens to spark a fire, because you have all that green and dry fuel, brush, and overgrowth, and all that stuff that's supposed to be trimmed and cut, and that way this stuff wouldn't be happening. But no, you got the Green New Deal. Oh, no, we can't be doing that. We're going to save the environment, and all that crap. And, let's cut the fire budget too, by the way, because we don't need their services since we're saving the environment, and they got too much money anyways, and we're going to defund them, right? Well, meanwhile, we're pressing on with this Green New Deal. We're going to make sure PG&E just continues to just, outrageously charge us for everything. Well, what do you expect, right? Happens. All that stuff is failed leadership from, Sacramento, Newsom, because everything he thinks that, he thinks he's a genius at everything. But when you really look at it, the Green New Deal is a fail, all right? Everything he's been doing, when you look at the blue cities, San Francisco, LA, it's all a fail, all right? It's all a fail. Look at it. Outside of the cutting of budgets, the Green New Deal bullshit, where you're focusing on just let everything grow but don't want to trim nothing, to solar panels and everything has to be electric, all right? While meanwhile the power grid hasn't been upgraded. It's terrible, right? But no emphasis on that. We just continue to just raise prices and have us pay for PG&E to do nothing except give us electricity. But they're not really doing nothing to really better the infrastructure, again, to work on cutting back on the environment, in terms of just making sure there's no fuel for this sort of thing to happen, right? It's part of their job to, I guess, cut brush, again, cut all that stuff, cut excess trees, cut back everything, right? It's just part of what they do. And, and so you have that, right? And then outside of all that, all the bullshit, right? Priorities with the high-speed rail bullshit that's going to nowhere, the illegals that are coming in, and homeless that keeps on getting bigger and bigger when you spend all this money for all this other bullshit stuff. Obviously, it's not being spent properly because it's being pocketed, as Democrats are very, very corrupt. And it's showing the corruption at its finest because of all these different failures. But yet, all these leaders, well, they're still in place. Some got removed, like in San Francisco, for example, Oakland. They got removed. But looking like the way things are happening, L.A. leadership should be removed. All right, Karen Bass for a part, and it should be removed at the top. Like Gavin Newsom is terrible. All right, when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to everything. All right, everything's been a fail, and he needs to be removed as well. Even though he has like another year and a half left, he needs to be removed too. And there's no way in hell he should run for president. But that's outside of that. So this is the fire that's happening, and I'm kind of interested if this Hearst fire is going to get worse or not, because once it gets into the Santa Clarita area, that's where my friend, one of my childhood friends, lives at. He lives in this area over here. I'm gonna have to check with him later on about that one. Yeah, because he lives up in this area. That's crazy. Yeah. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on this, but yeah, and you heard it, zero containment. All right, so yeah, so where the fuck was Karen Bass? That's the question. Let's see what the latest update is. I searched it overnight. Let's see. Wildfire response threatens to end Karen Bass extended honeymoon. Karen Bass blunders her way through fire warnings on the big one. Alright, so obviously it seems evident that she was given a warning. Hey, maybe not go, just kind of hang out and wait, as that's what it seemed like. And it's just funny how it is. Before we go, let's take a look over. Let's see here. Most destructive fire in LA County history rages unchecked. You look at that. James Woods, that's the actor James Woods there. Let's see here, because they talked about how his rips blithering idiot Newsom after losing his home. All right, so he lost his home. I always like the witty Jesse Waters. Let's see what he has to say. He's very witty.
Want the effects of Viagra, but faster? Meet Rose Sparks. They contain sildenafil and tadalafil.
Apocalyptic.
It is. It is like
Los
apocalypse,
Angeles
man.
County.
This is crazy.
Entire neighborhoods are burning. Over 10,000 acres in Pacific Palisades alone. And the smoke everyone's breathing is being described as a toxic soup. 5 people already dead. They were burned alive. Hundreds of homes have been scorched. Listen to actor James Woods.
I called my neighbor who hadn't evacuated yet. I said, go in and check on him. He went, he said, the door's open, there's nobody here. He went in and yelled, he said, no, nobody here. I said, look, just go behind the pantry. There's a little room. We can see him during the day. He likes to sit there because there's a garden. He went in and found him. He'd been left alone. Okay? And it turned out the fire department made the new caregiver leave. And, she just does what she was told. They said, we're coming back for him. Well, they hadn't come back for him. I'm hoping that they would have. But, there was so much chaos. It was like an inferno. Every house was on fire around us. And, he got him out, and the house burned down about an hour later. He would have been in there alone.
Damn, burned down alive. That's crazy.
This is the most destructive fire in LA County history, and it's still raging. 0% of the fire has been contained. 0%. Winds are whipping up to 100 miles an hour, breathing more and more life into the inferno. And over 1,400 firefighters are battling the blaze on the front lines, and they haven't slept. One says, I'm living proof that you can stay up for 96 hours. But they're outmanned and out-equipped. The chief says she doesn't have enough firefighters. Just months ago, LA Mayor Karen Bass cut funding from the fire department by around $20 million. And before that, the LA Fire Department sent their extra equipment to Ukraine. They probably could use some of that equipment now.
Yeah, imagine that, huh? Send your extra equipment to Ukraine of all places. Come on. Really? It's like, Come on, man. Like, enough with the Ukraine bullshit, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why?
And this is even worse. The fire hydrants are dry.
Here on Lockman Lane, there are several homes burning. This is the one that firefighters were trying to put out a little while ago, but you can see right now it's just kind of out of control. Since then, firefighters have lost water pressure on the hydrant, so they can't get any more water onto this fire and the ones down the hill because of the water pressure issues.
Why isn't there any water coming out of the fire hydrants? Los Angeles has had 2 years of record rainfall. It hasn't rained this much year to year since the 1800s. Well, guess what? All the rain just washes into the ocean.
Yep.
A decade ago,
because that's part of Gavin Newsom. Again, he, rather than contain the water, he lets it run off into the ocean rather than, keeping it at bay. Again, another poor decision-making from Gavin Newsom once again.
California voted to spend billions on water storage and reservoirs. Today, Governor Newsom hasn't finished building a single one. They've done nothing to store water in a decade.
Yep.
Trump was just in California this fall and told Gavin he needed to get it together.
Yep.
You have so much water, and all those fields that are right now barren, the farmers would have all the water they needed.
Yeah, he doesn't even let the farmers have the water. He just lets it run off in the ocean when he's supposed to be containing all this water because of, you just never know, right? And it's shit like that.
And you could revert water up into the hills where you have all the dead forests, where the forests are so brittle. Because no place is like California. I go to Austria. The head of Austria tells me, we have trees that are much more flammable than what you have in California. We never have forest fires because they maintain their forests.
Yeah.
And you have all that water that could be used as water, what they call water flow, where where the land would be damp. And you'd stop many of these horrible fires.
Before Donald Trump left office, he signed an order that would funnel more water from Northern California into Southern California. Newsom, instead of saying thank you, filed a lawsuit to stop it, saying it would kill the smelt. If you don't know what a smelt is, neither did we. It's a fish the size of your pinky. California can't get enough water to fight fires because of a stupid fish. We're saving fish instead of people. Saving smelt, big business. If anything happens to the smelt, people lose a lot of money. We're paying people to feel like heroes for protecting a fish no one eats. But it gets worse. Gavin's been tearing down dams. Why? Because the Indians wanted some of their river back so they could catch salmon.
Yeah. Last year, Gavin Newsom got rid of a dam up north to give back land to the natives out there. It wasn't necessary. It's more of a historical thing, but still, it's like, really? It could have been useful to have.
Gavin didn't just knock down one dam for the Indians, he knocked down all 4.
The largest dam removal project in U.S. history and one of the most significant, if not the most significant, water restoration project, bringing back salmon and steelhead into this basin. And I couldn't be more proud as a father because my kids and their great-great-grandkids will have the opportunity to see something that, has been here since time immemorial. And it's about damn time. Words mean nothing unless you can manifest them. You got to make something real. You got to make the words visible. We mean business. We're going to be turning this over in a very short period of time.
And these dams were a go-to source for firefighters to pull water from to fight fires up north. Gavin's literally tearing down Western civilization for fish and Indians. Nothing against the Indians. I love the Indians. But really? LA's out of water. And the governor's staring at the fire with his hands in his pockets. Now, we have a rule about men putting their hands in their pockets, but this is neither the time nor the place to discuss it. People are trapped. Homes and schools are gone. And Newsom hasn't contained a single acre. The governor waited 24 hours to send in the National Guard. Water management, forest management, Gavin doesn't know what he's doing. Again, Trump warned him about this years ago.
Got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we're much different. We're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. and they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem.
Newsom, after the election, called an emergency special session in California to Trump-proof the state. Not fire-proof it, Trump-proof it, whatever that means. Where are the emergency escape roads that were supposed to have been built? People had to abandon their cars in the middle of the road and run away from the flames because there's only one way in and one way out. Why weren't the forest beds treated? Why are we running out of water? Joe Biden hasn't helped at all. In October, the Biden administration canceled crucial controlled burns in California.
There it is. That's what we needed. And that's even going further to the top of poor Democratic leadership. The U.S. Forest Service halts prescribed burns in California. Why? Because of it's environmentally unfriendly? Come on, man. They're like, really? So this is why we have these fires, because of shit like this.
These are critical to forest management. Cancel them. Today, Biden happened to be in town because he was supposed to designate another national forest, decided that this was the right time to congratulate himself.
Astounding what's happening. No, I want this good news. My son lives out here anyway. They got a notification yesterday their home is probably burning around. Today, there's a lady still standing, I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great-grandfather as of today. My granddaughter. Next time I saw a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for a lot of long reasons.
So Hunter's now a grandfather and Joe's a great-grandfather. I'm sure everybody who lost their homes is excited to hear the news.
Yeah, yay.
Trump reacted to the fires today saying, no water in the fire hydrants, no money in FEMA. This is what Joe Biden is leaving me. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, no money in FEMA, right? Because Mayorkas said that there was no money when the hurricanes were happening on the East Coast, and FEMA was supposed to be there to help with emergency services, and there was no money in it because what did? They pillaged the FEMA budget for illegals, you know? So it just poor Democratic leadership once again.
Meanwhile, the mayor of L.A. has been out of the country the whole time. Mayor Karen Bass has been in Africa for the inauguration of the president of Ghana. What the heck's an American politician doing attending inaugurations in other countries? Karen Bass isn't going to her own president's inauguration, but she's going to the president of Ghana's? Why?
The fuck?
And didn't make it back home until late this afternoon. A reporter caught up with her at LAX. Listen.
Oh, yeah, we got to see this.
An apology for being absent while their homes were burning. Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Can you back up? Appreciate it. Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Biden was considering Bass for VP.
Shit.
So who else is running things?
The fuck, man?
This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the leadership of the LA Fire Department. I sure hope they know what they're doing. Here's the fire chief.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me.
So while her department was sending equipment to Ukraine, the chief was marching in pride parades, which is fine. Have all the pride you want, but you better make sure you're ready to do your job when it counts. LA County Fire Department fired a ton of men who refused to get vaccinated. Bet they could have used those men today. In fact, California has a program to scrub white males from the fire department. Adam Carolla says he tried to apply to be a firefighter in L.A. once, but they told him to go to the back of the line.
I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, and I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years.
California is committing suicide right before our eyes. DEI is deadly.
Yeah.
The state spent billions of dollars on equity programs, and they can't even deliver basic services. Newsom spends more money fighting homelessness than fighting fires, and both of them are out of control. The state has a drug problem, a homeless problem. Everything's burning. There's no water. Bridges are blowing up. Migrants are running off of boats onto beaches. California is run by public servants who can't serve the public. And the governor looks around and says, I'm going to run for president.
Yeah, fuck, man.
This is completely unacceptable in the United States of America. Click here.
There it is. All right, so you guys heard enough of that. So we got it. So we know the impact of what's happening, the failed leadership. I wanted to emphasize all that. So thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you think about everything that's going on. And hey, you know what? God, you know I'm right about this. We'll stay on top of this here and see what's, further updates and all that as the days go on. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the bell icon that we can stay on top of daily content. And I just want to say thank you. I'll see you next one.